Hey guys, welcome to the Gidlow Movie Show, the very first one. Very first Gidlow Movie Show. I am Daniel Gidlow. I am joined with my brother.
Thomas Gidlow. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing, Dan?
I just met you, so I don't know.
We don't know each other. We don't know each other at all.
Okay, so this is our first podcast in this weird series we'll probably be doing. I just want to throw this out there. This is gonna be far more unstructured than any of our other podcasts, probably. Just because this is the first one, I kind of want to do a getting to know us sort of thing. Some of you guys may know me. You probably know my brother even less, so that's why I want to kind of. That's not a stab at you or anything. It's just
Thank you,
It's just
sir.
like
Yes.
I don't want to assume everybody knows who we are and kind of our history. So I want to kind of go over our history with movies, why we love movies, and why we wanted to do this.
Exactly. Well, me and you have had conversations before where it was always Tom and Dan, and now it's more appropriate that it's sort of Dan and Tom.
Oh yeah. Back in the day, whenever we tried to do anything, I always
right.
wanted to put you in front of me because I felt like
Older brother.
But
of course, now.
But now
you are
whoa.
a sensation. So
Yes,
you are first.
I am Jesus Reborn on YouTube. Apparently, no, but
all praise.
so I mean, we have conversations all the time on Skype. We sit down and watch movies together over Skype since we live different sides of the country, and we have these long conversations. And a lot of the time, it's just like I wish we had recorded this because I think we generally bring up interesting points. And for some reason, sometimes people want to know my opinion, and I want to know Tom's. I'm always interested in different opinions on movies, so that's kind of why I like listening to podcasts dedicated to movies, and that's kind of why I want to start my own.
And that's the beauty about us, is that even though we have similar loves and similar backgrounds ish, we definitely have different opinions on some things.
Oh yeah,
so that brings up a really good contrast.
I'm a lot more loosey goosey about a lot of things, and you're pretty rigid on some things. So
I can be kind of loosey goosey depending on what the genre of the film is, but
yeah.
There are some things that do set me off, and I have been known to go off on a tangent or two. So
maybe we'll get
only for the entertainment of our audience.
Maybe we'll get some crazy Tom rants where people are just like, I don't know where that came from, but it was entertaining.
That's right. It's all about entertainment.
Yes, I think we both just took a swig of drink around the same time.
It's going to be strategic trying to find the right time. Like when you go into it, when I sense that you're going to have a long rebuttal coming, then I'll grab for the Lowe's Foods drinking water.
Whoa, Lowe's Foods, the company I used to work for, which I can say now considering I didn't work. I think back when I worked for them, I couldn't say that. I couldn't say on the internet that I worked for them.
Yeah, Walmart's the same way. There are strict rules what you can and can't do social media wise.
Yeah,
and neither one of us work for them anymore. So
no, I never worked for Walmart. Anyway,
no.
So first thing I want to jump right into is kind of our background with movies, kind of what sparked our love for movies, kind of the talk about the movies, the kind of movies we're interested in, the kind of movies we've seen. Obviously, we've both seen a shit ton of movies combined, but I don't know if we really kind of have a similar jump off point. I mean, the big thing that really kind of got me into movies, I used to watch movies on TV and everything, but my grandfather had a library of bootlegged movies. His what is it? Nana's friend,
I was thinking about that earlier because I was going to bring that up, but I can't remember the name of the lady.
Georgie
that was doing the bootleg.
Georgie,
was it Georgie?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Georgianne or Georgette?
No, it's Georgie. Our grandmother's friend, and I don't know if it was Dave's friend specifically, but she would get HBO. Just so she could tape movies off of HBO. And she always made copies of it. She would take 2 VCRs and make copies and give them to her friends. So my grandfather had a library of bootlegged movies. So pretty much we could watch any movie. And I think the thing was, we watched any kind of movie. You watched rated R movies when you were
Well, I mean, not when I was 6 or 7.
I know, but when you were in your early teens.
10 years old.
Yeah.
10 years old. And the first, I don't mean to jump right into what I would consider my basis for jump off point or whatever, but The Professional is the perfect example.
Yeah.
Because I think I was about 10 years old, and that was really my first exposure to a adult themed movie.
And that's as adult
And
as you get. Those are really
Right.
complicated
Well,
themes in that movie.
Well, not only complicated themes. Well, you talk about the Lolita aspect of a 12-year-old girl and a grown man.
Yeah, a 12-year-old girl and a grown man kind of almost
When-
having a love, almost
Exactly.
kind of that relationship. That's a very French film for a 10-year-old to watch.
Well, and the thing is, like, since then, obviously, we've seen the full version, but we never saw the completely
Like the
full
international
when we
version.
were
It was just the
kids. Right.
American version.
So, but there was definitely lots of violence, lots of blood.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the scene where Stansfield's shooting the drug guy, in his own house, and there's just bullets just piercing out of
when
his
he's
blood.
crawling, when he's crawling away.
When he's crawling,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like. I remember that, watching that one of the first few times that I watched it, but we watched that over and over again.
You watched
when we
that.
I did. Anyway, whenever I went over there, we always watched movies,
Yeah.
and that was one we always watched.
I have no recollection of watching The Professional until I was about 13, 14 years old. I rented it from premieres. I don't remember. I think... You didn't work at the premieres right around the corner, did you?
I did, yeah. The one at 319.
Well, I was thinking the one 210. I was thinking the one at 210.
Yeah, 210.
You worked at the one at 210?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
For like 6 months.
What?
It's a video store, and
Maybe it was when you were working there. It was somebody was working there and they had it on their employee picks. I used to go to this video store when I was a teenager, early teens. Mom used to give me $1 every single time I made their bed. So, like, I would take that money and I would go straight to the video store and rent whatever VHS they had on the 99-cent rack. Like, the employees would go through the store, pick their favorites, and put it on the 99-cent rack. And that was on somebody's rack. I don't know. I don't think you worked there at the time, so it wasn't yours.
no, I don't think I did. But I remember making it a big point to, whenever I could, because sometimes we had to do themes and stuff, and it was stupid. But whenever I could just put it up there, I'd always put it up there because it's my favorite movie.
Yeah. So that was outside of watching all those random movies at my grandfather's house. When I was like in my teens, that's when I think I really kind of hit that like explosive, like I watch any movie I can. So anytime they added new movies to the 99-cent rack, that's what I would hit first, as opposed to looking for a new title or, going through all the other ones because they were more expensive and I obviously had very little money. I remember keeping every single receipt of every rental I ever had. I don't have them now, but I had taken it into art class one day. I, for some reason, took it to school, and my friends and I were trying to figure out and add how much money I spent at that store. Like, I spent like hundreds of dollars at that video store.
And it's amazing it went out of business, but
Yeah. Well, they still have the logo up on that building. I really want to.
yeah, nobody's ever gone in there. It's too big.
One day,
Huge
Tom, maybe we'll
building.
go back and buy out that
That
video
would be
store.
something we should do, and we'll buy it out, and what we'll put there, we don't know.
And we'll
but
run it
put
into the
something
ground because video stores don't even brick and mortar video stores aren't even viable anymore.
No, but I don't. I would disagree with that. I still have this, archaic thought that a video store could do well.
Yeah.
But it has to be done right. You can't just do.
Well, when there's a red box
you know-
at the grocery store right next to it, how is that supposed to compete?
Right, but you may not be able to compete and overtake like a Redbox now or Netflix or something like that because it's way too easy to get films there.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a reason for people to come into your store. Make it an event kind of thing. Not just where you come in to get a movie and then leave, because nobody's going to do that anymore.
Well, 5 years down the road, when you and I are famous filmmakers, we'll open up that video
That's right.
store, and that will be the draw. It's just like, come meet the Gidlow
Right.
brothers.
We'll put all kinds of stuff in there. It'll be, you can get movies, you can get video games, and you can play games. Dan will come by every now and again. You can play live with Dan.
I'll do some commentary stuff live.
There you go. We'll turn that place into a hub, quote unquote.
The Gidlow hub and the Creature
The
hub
Gidlow
combined.
hub. It'll be an offshoot of the Creature
Oh
hub.
God. Another thing I just thought of off the top of my head. Now I used to see this a lot more. I used to kind of agree with this a lot more. People say we sound alike. So hopefully people can determine who's who in this podcast. But
You would hope this thing would absolutely put that to bed now, because not that a lot of people have heard my voice. Obviously, a lot more people have heard yours.
yeah, I think generally if
But
they just heard
every
it
time
alone,
I put
if they just
yeah,
heard
every
it
time
alone.
What's that?
I said if they just heard it alone in a video and they're thinking of my voice, but hear
Yes.
you, they might think it sounds. But back right next to each other, I don't think we sound exactly alike.
No, that's what I will hope will put that to bed, because sometimes I'll put up a video and it's me you can either hear my voice or the audio show, or it's a video or something like that, and I always at least get 1 or 2 comments. You sound just like Dan.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will put that to bed.
Well, I think your voice is a bit deeper. And does your voice crack at all? Do you ever get voice cracks?
Like high voice cracks?
Just
Or are
like,
you talking about, like when you're
kind of thing.
Not really. You do have that more than I do.
Why? I don't understand it.
I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but I've never really had that problem since I was about 13.
You lucky bastard. Okay, well, anyway. So, yeah, I used to rent movies from there all the time, and what I think I'm a lot different from you in the sense that I can watch the same movie twice, like, in one day. Like, I have this weird thing, like, if I could watch a movie in the morning, and then later that day, if somebody else, like, you know, I'm talking to somebody, and I'm like, do you want to watch this movie? And they're like, sure, I'll watch it again with somebody else. If I'm with somebody else, I have this thing where I just, like, I experience the movie from their point of view, and so it's like, well, last night, and we'll get to this later, last night we watched King's Speech over Netflix. We do this all the time. We'll get on Skype and sync, and we'll watch a movie together. I watched The King's Speech, I think a week and a half, 2 weeks ago with Liz over Skype. And I think it's like, I could watch, if I like the movie, I could watch that movie over and over again with different people.
It's different when you watch it with someone. If you're just going to watch it back to back by yourself, it doesn't make a lot
I think
of sense.
The Dark Knight Rises is one of the few movies I could probably watch over and over again by myself.
Exactly. Well, maybe even that, like, goes to your point. I don't know. Once I've seen it that day, I don't think I'd want to watch it again that day. But if I had, like, a friend over, assuming I had friends, and they would come over and watch.
I'm your friend, Tom, and the internet is your friend now.
Yes, I am opening my arms to the internet through this experience. So if you want to be my friend, be my friend. Anyway, but if I had somebody come over to the house and we sat down, and then it was, you know, I just like you said, it would be like something's coming up. You know it's going to be big, and you just want to you're almost like leaning over and watching them to see their reaction, to be like, oh, wow, you know.
I think we always used to do that when growing up. Like, there would be a movie
we've done that.
Yeah, where you've seen it and you want to watch it, and, like, we're watching it and I'm asking questions, and you're just like, well, you know, wait and see. Or it's always funny when it's one of those twisty-turny movies and people just keep asking you questions and you don't want to answer it. But, you know, sometimes they guess, like, you know, it's like, oh, this is going to happen, and they guess right, but you don't want to say anything because you don't want to ruin it.
But the thing is, with me and you, like, I'm far more, I think, between us, I think I'm more of the sort that I would want to almost try to spoil it, because it's like, it's so, especially if it's something really good.
Yeah, you'll explain it a little bit. You'll be like, well, kinda, but this is, you know, you have to think about this and this and this.
Right.
James and I watched The Prestige, which is my favorite movie. I've come to terms with picking a favorite movie, and The Prestige is my favorite movie. That's a movie I can watch over and over and over again. But James and I watched it, and he was catching on to. I mean, there's a twist kind of ending. There's a reveal ending. But the thing is, I mean, if you're paying attention even slightly, you know what the reveal is because they've already kind of revealed it. But they kind of confirm what you think was going on at the very end of the movie. And he guessed it, and I was just like, I tried to throw him off. I tried to be like, I tried to say what the movie had already explained as if that was fact. I was like, well, they said he, you know, fixed this, so it's not doing that anymore. But then at the end, it was like, okay, it's still doing that.
See, with close friends, that might be a little bit harder to kind of contain. I've never had that problem, though, I don't think. I can very easily kind of try to throw you off.
Yeah.
Because even if you were right, I try to throw you off, and then when it happens to be that you are right, you still have an element of surprise and be like, oh, okay, I was right.
Well, that's exactly what happened with James, where he was just like, you lied to me. I was like, no, I didn't lie to you. I just explained what happened earlier in the movie. He was like, but I guessed it right. And I was like, I know, but I didn't want you to kind of spoil it for yourself. I wanted to take you away from that and kind of.
I don't even know who you are anymore. Is that what he said? He got all pissed off.
Well, he immediately went on Amazon and bought the movie because he wanted it for himself. He's kind of like I'm that way. If I watch a movie,
you have turned into an extreme movie owning monster.
Blu-ray collector.
Blu-ray monster.
Well, a year ago when I still lived at home and, you know, I was still working a normal job, I couldn't afford a lot of Blu-rays, so I only had maybe 50 Blu-rays or so. That's still a lot. Right. But, you know, maybe between 30 and 50 Blu-rays. A couple months ago, but probably about 5-6 months ago, I wasn't, you know, when I would get paid, I wouldn't spend my whole paycheck on Blu-rays, but it was like I'm getting to the point where I can really expand my collection, and so the theory became I'm going to buy every single movie I would want to watch. So I would go on Amazon and look at the $15 and lower Blu-rays just for like all those random ass movies they've released on Blu-ray that I like, what are some movies?
Had half an interest in.
Yeah, pretty much any movie that I would want to watch, or a movie that I haven't seen maybe that I heard was good. I'm trying to think of some movies. Well, I know more recently I've been buying kind of special collector's editions of older movies, like 50th anniversary or whatever collection editions they've been releasing. So I bought like Lawrence of Arabia because I know that's one of Dad's favorite movies. And I've never seen it. And I think there are some movies that that are classics that are kind of crimes it's kind of like a crime to not have seen that movie, but
yes.
I'm kind of trying to rectify that. Like Casablanca, I've never seen that movie. I don't know, but I've been buying like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or not Charlie and the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Willy Wonka.
They had the special edition of that. Like it's like these big versions of these movies.
Well, some of those have like new interviews and stuff like that, and new revealing like scenes and stuff that they haven't never showed before. So
I want to get,
not only do you get the movie, but you get that stuff too.
Yeah, I want to get the Wizard of Oz one. That they had.
Is this like the 150th anniversary by now?
Yeah, I
Something
think
like that.
It's
been around a while.
It's the bicentennial version, but
1643.
When we made this movie with Judith Garland in 1894,
Dame Judith Garland and the King of England.
I just remember that documentary they had on the. Didn't they have a VHS version of that came with a documentary with Angela Lansbury, like conducting interviews with like the leftover Munchkins?
Oh my God, something like that. I think I remember the leftover Munchkins, but I don't think it was Angela Lansbury.
I'm almost certain.
I know she was a hot thing back in the 80s.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Angela Lansbury. They did like some sort of pseudo documentary. I was watching. I watched Empire of the Sun the other day for the first time. It was Christian Bale's first huge movie. I think it was his first movie in general, but it was a Spielberg movie. He was excellent in it. But I watched the behind the scenes documentary, which was made around the time the movie came out. And it was like one of those. It's so funny how different featurettes are now for things, because it was like a full blown documentary on the making of the movie, and it was narrated by Martin Sheen randomly enough. Like he had nothing to do with the movie, but it's just like, "Hi, I'm Martin Sheen. Follow along on the journey of the making of Empire of the Sun."
Maybe it's payday for him. Maybe he's just something he was looking to do.
Yeah, but they don't do stuff like that anymore. Just like, "I'm Angela Lansbury. I have nothing to do with Wizard of Oz. Come with me on the journey."
If anybody is hosting, it's usually some random key grip or something like that, or it might be one of the actors or a director or something. I don't know.
My great nephew worked on this movie
back in 1804.
Yes. So yeah, that's kind of, for the most part, my idea of buying Blu-rays and everything. Do you buy movies anymore, or do you just like?
Not really. Well, I mean, with Netflix, there's not really a whole lot of need. I mean, there's sometimes I'll come across a movie where I'm like, man, I really want to watch it, but then to the discredit of the film industry, I usually either go to YouTube.
Yeah.
See if somebody's uploaded it. Yeah. But yeah, in the YouTube or Netflix, generally speaking, if there's something, that I really, like if Star Trek came out on DVD.
Yeah.
If the new one had just come out on DVD, I'd get that. But I really don't. I mean, my collection's very old. Other than the Blu-rays you sent for Christmas, I have the entire Christopher Nolan collection.
Oh yeah, every single one of his movies, from Following to Dark Knight Rises.
Following to The Dark Knight Rises.
Have you watched Following yet?
I haven't watched any of them yet.
Okay, well, you do need to watch them in order and watch Following. Following's interesting.
They are stacked in order. And that doesn't mean watching all the Batman movies. It's it's got Batman Begins, The Prestige is in between, Inception is in between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Yep. So I'm gonna watch them in order,
certainly,
as soon as I can find some time. But I need to make time.
I ascribe to the theory that Christopher Nolan only got better with his movies as he went along, and I still think that's pretty true. I used to say Memento and Prestige were like my favorite movies, but I always thought I enjoyed Prestige more, but I thought Memento was a better movie. And so in picking my favorite, I came up with The Prestige because I really enjoy that movie. I really don't think there's anything wrong with that movie. I think it's perfect. And not that
I wouldn't say go ahead.
What?
No, I just felt like interrupting you, I guess. No, I felt because I can't remember where I was reading something about a review of Insomnia on how it really seems to be, other than Following, which really I guess doesn't really count, seems to be the least liked of the whole bunch.
Well, this is what I've always said about Insomnia ever since I went through and watched all of Christopher Nolan's movies again. It's the least Christopher Nolan of the movies. It definitely has his touch to it, but he didn't write it. It was from a script from another writer. Usually he has a hand in the writing of the movies, and usually it's his story. But he wanted to, before he did that, or before he took on Batman, he wanted to work on a movie of a larger scale, because Memento really wasn't that large of a scale movie. It was pretty local. So he didn't feel like he was quite there yet, so he wanted to work on another movie. And it is very much, it's almost like if Christopher Nolan kind of directed an episode of Law and Order, almost. Like,
kind of like, yeah, I guess that's probably why I like it so much.
Yeah, I really like it, but the thing is, it's my least favorite of Nolan's movies, but that isn't saying anything about the quality of the movie.
Still puts it above a lot of
other random movies. I mean, that movie is an excellent movie, but it is definitely my least favorite of his. I watched it more recently with James. I shared it with him. He actually thought it was pretty good too. Robin Williams' performance in that is...
That's probably what it is for me, is just that it's it has... obviously Pacino in it as well, but probably a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's so out of what you would assume as his character. Although he's been in, more serious movies like that before.
Robin Williams, yeah.
Yeah, 1 Hour Photo
he plays,
is one that I can think of.
That he's super creepy in that movie.
Yeah,
he's creepy in Insomnia because he's like so convinced that he's not a terrible person. But I want to say Christopher Nolan said he was like one of his favorite actors to work with because he hit everything every single time. Like he was never he never had a bad take. He was always, he did exactly what he wanted him to do. And I'm surprised they haven't worked together again. Because he came up as a candidate. Like, I don't know if in front of Nolan said maybe he could play the Joker, but a lot of people rumored him to play the Joker because they had worked together before. And I think Robin said he was interested, like he'd be interested in doing it, but I don't know if he was ever actually on any sort of list where it's like these are the candidates.
Yeah.
So. But it would have been interesting. I think he could have taken it pretty kind of creepy and far. But
oh yeah, I think it would definitely. I think he was probably a little too old.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe to because again, that was the thing that I always remember about Batman Begins was that when the casting first came out, everybody looked like babies. Because Katie Holmes wasn't that old.
Oh yeah, Katie Holmes was kind of a weird pick.
Scarecrow actor, I can't think of his name.
Cillian Murphy. I think I always call him Cillian.
Really young. Seemed he was really young.
Yeah,
and he was the main bad guy. And
Tom Wilkinson, baby faced, looked like he was 20.
Exactly. He looked like
Gary Oldman.
Years old, and
Gary Oldman did look younger.
I meant the ancillary part.
Yes.
That's my new favorite word. Apparently, I'm saying it all the time.
Ancillary.
Yeah, that part of the cast when I saw that, but obviously they augmented it with amazing veteran actors and amazing actors in general.
This has turned into Christopher Nolan talk, but the thing is, Christopher Nolan is like, he's when it comes to my taste in movies, this guy is my top director I follow. Like this is, I follow other directors and I really like other directors' bodies of work. But this guy, Christopher Nolan, is top of the line. I think for you and me.
I don't think I subscribe as much to specific directors as you would. I think that's fair to say. Mm-hmm. But there's no doubt Nolan's the best, easily the best. Even the stuff that and I know he's not directing, he's producing the Superman movie. Just it's a different level. It's a completely different level from it's taking even if it's an action specific movie. It's taking the the 90s run of the mill popcorn action and just giving it such a story.
Yeah.
And I really honestly don't know of a better trilogy, and I know there's a lot of trilogies out there, and we'll probably get a few comments about this. I don't think there's a better trilogy that's been made.
Well, it's all opinion based, so it's like you're
wrong.
Sure.
Yeah,
no,
you're wrong.
No, I'm not. I'm right in my mind.
And here's the stats to prove it. No, it's just it's completely objectionable. I object.
It's all subjective and objective.
Yes. At the same time, which is pretty impressive.
But
he would be the type of intricate kind of stories that you want to do because it makes you want to see them.
Yeah, well, I'm the kind of, like you were saying, you're not really a kind of person who just watches like specific directors. But if I watch a movie from a director that I really like, and I knew he had a real creative hand in the process, some directors are just there to make sure the movie gets made for the studio, sort of thing. There aren't,
right.
But when I watch a movie by somebody like Paul Thomas Anderson, I don't think you've seen too many of his movies, but I really like Paul Thomas Anderson. When I saw
couldn't pull him out of a lineup, but I'm sure.
He directed Magnolia, There Will Be Blood. Boogie Nights was his first one, and Punch Drunk Love, stuff like that. His stuff is kind of out there, and sometimes it's hard to kind of divine the meanings of his movies like immediately after watching them. Specifically Punch Drunk Love. That movie is kind of a bit more existential, but I watched one of when I watched There Will Be Blood, I was like, I have to see other movies made by this guy, and I did, and they were excellent. But I like Paul Thomas Anderson. I like early M. Night Shyamalan.
Please quantify by saying early. And underscore parentheses exclamation points.
A lot of people fell off after Signs. A lot of people think Signs is not a good movie. I really like Signs.
I don't think it's as great as people think it is. People can.
No, I think people don't think it's that great, but
I don't think it's that great.
Yeah,
I don't think it was anything really all that special.
I saw that
was a good movie. That was decent. It was all right.
I don't know if that was the first PG-13 movie I saw in theaters, but when I turned 13, I wanted to go see a PG-13 movie, and that was out. So Dad took me and my friend to go see it, and or my friend and I, and.
Your boyfriend.
My boyfriend, Tyler. Ew. My best friend at the time. But
yes.
I like Sixth Sense. I haven't seen Sixth Sense in the longest time, but I have it downstairs.
That's a good movie. I like that.
That is a good movie.
That's a really good movie.
Sixth Sense, and Signs, Unbreakable. I really like
yes.
Unbreakable.
Very good movie. And then he went to the crapper.
But I haven't seen The Village, but I've heard that's not bad. I remember Kelly swears by it, and I think she likes Signs too. So I think I might like The Village, but I haven't seen it. I've seen the end of The Village, so I know.
Is
the
it
twist.
Like a straight horror film, or is it more like a mystery thriller?
No, it's kind of like almost a period piece where it was Adrian Brody back when he was still doing.
I don't really like him.
I like Adrian Brody in certain roles. He takes some weird ones. He's kind of like James Franco. He does these really great roles, and then he'll do a bunch of random ones. More recently, he hasn't really been doing anything that I've seen that I really like. Oh, I got to see that movie. But I like when he plays more serious characters. But anyway,
I've never had any inkling. Oh, Adrian Brody's in that movie. I must go see it.
Have you seen the Adrian Brody viral video where it's like Adrian Brody? It's just him scrolling across the screen every 5 seconds, going through different things. We'll have to watch that at some point. But it's Adrian Brody, Bryce Dallas Howard, who I'm not a fan of. I'm not a big fan of her. I haven't really seen her in anything that I thought was great.
She's all right.
And I don't know who else is in it, but it's like they're in this village where they're shunned to leave, and I think Adrian Brody's either blind or something like that. I can't remember, but something that ends up happening. They kind of debate about having to leave. Somebody has to leave, but there are these monsters that keep them there. And it's just it was a weird premise.
Sounds like my kind of movie.
But the twist ending is ooh kind of thing. What a twist! But then Lady in the Water, I saw that in theaters, and that was poop. And Avatar: The Last Airbender was really bad.
I haven't seen that. No inkling of wanting to see that.
Yeah, I watched about an hour of it, and I was so bored. The show has so much personality. The show has, the characters are goofy, but it can get serious. Well, I think all M. Night Shyamalan did... Well, I mean, it was an adaptation of a Nickelodeon series, but it was just, all M. Night Shyamalan saw was, it needed to be dark. It needed to be serious and not have the playfulness of the show. Something that made the show endearing was that it was playful. Not everything has to be Batman Begins or The Dark Knight. Not everything needs to be dark. That doesn't
Would
make
this
it
kind
good.
of be similar to Dragon Ball Z, that movie?
Oh, that movie was pretty goofy though. They made it.
I don't remember it being very goofy, but I could be wrong.
We watched it about 5 months ago at the old house. Yeah, that movie is not... It's one of the biggest travesties is the fact that it strays so much from Dragon Ball Z. But I mean, there's no reason that it needs to be done in live action. I was kind of excited about it beforehand, but there are some things that don't need to be made into American live action movies. I mean, the fact that Goku in the first place was a American, although I think Justin Chatwin's Canadian, so whatever. But I mean, he's supposed to be an Asian character, so it was just like so random. But yeah, that. But what other directors? Are there any you like Luc Besson specifically for The Professional, but he hasn't really done a whole lot.
Well, The Professional and
Fifth Element.
Fifth Element, of course. We watched that a ton as well. That was one of the three.
Yeah.
It was The Fifth Element, The Professional, and Executive Decision were the three movies watched over and over again. And
for some reason, I
missed
The Professional completely, but I did see the other two a lot. I do remember seeing the other two a lot. Executive Decision.
Directed by our Lord and Savior, Stuart Baird.
Stuart Bayard is this gigantic inside joke my brother and I have.
Yeah, nobody else has any. I'm sure you could probably ask 10 people and maybe 3 of them have heard of him. Maybe.
No, nobody knows. You think 10 average people know who's 3 out of 10
you don't even think
average people know Stuart Bayard? No,
well, he's an editor.
Some people don't know who directed Batman Begins.
Oh, I'm giving people too much credit.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, maybe cinephiles, but I don't think too many people.
If you asked 10 people out of a movie-going audience, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, Stuart Bayard has been involved with a lot of our favorite movies.
To our surprise sometimes, too.
To our surprise.
We didn't even realize it.
I think we became aware of him with Star Trek Nemesis. He directed Star Trek Nemesis, and that's kind of what put him on the map for us. But then, in looking at his IMDb, he directed Executive Decision, one of Tom's favorite movies. He also directed U.S. Marshals. He's only directed 3 movies. And then he's edited, he edited the original Richard Donner Superman. I think he was uncredited for that. He did some touch-ups, I think. He's edited some huge movies, specifically Casino Royale, but that was after he was already at inside joke status for Tom and I.
Right.
So it was he's editing Casino Royale. He did an excellent job on that. He wasn't there for Quantum of Solace, but then ended up taking up Skyfall. He just edited Skyfall recently. Vantage Point, which became a gigantic
biggest
joke.
Inside joke.
Vantage Point is such an odd movie because it's not that great, and they show the same scene 5 times over throughout the movie. They keep showing the same part and showing different perspectives throughout the movie. But then at the end, Dennis Quaid is running around firing a gun, and he never reloads.
It's just
5
endless.
minutes.
He must have fired it probably 40 or 50 times.
So yeah,
just continuous fire and no reload and just a small little 9mm type gun or whatever.
Yeah. So Dennis Quaid
cracked up. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Dennis Quaid's infinite ammo. And I remember before we watched it, I read a review of Stuart Bayard's editing on it, and somebody had said Stuart Bayard uses 5 cuts when 2 would suffice.
Oh yeah,
and so we were counting cuts at one point where it was just within a span of 5 seconds he cut 20 times.
I forgot about that.
So there was a car chase sequence. We were pretty much saying we were counting every single time there was a cut. So we were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It
was absolutely ridiculous.
It was every second there was a cut. But yes,
again, we had semi talked about this last night about sometimes it may have been what he wanted to do, but a lot of the times he has a lot of input from other people too as far as direction for editing and all of that. So you can't really fault him for it.
But he's a great editor. He edited Maverick too. I remember that. He's a really great editor. I respect editors a lot. I pay attention for in credits for editors specifically. There are really some great editors out there, and I think Stuart Bayard is a very excellent editor. I think Vantage Point was a little weird, but again, you don't know about the direction. It was funny in the behind the scenes for that they actually included him in the behind the scenes because I think he was talking about the nature of
I do remember that. Yes.
So we had more to go off of with not making fun of Stuart Bayard, but kind of making a joke out of it all.
I think it started as a joke, though, didn't it? Because with Nemesis, he did all of these interviews. There was so much stuff of him talking about Star Trek, and it just made us laugh.
I just remember, there was a scene in the special features. There's a part where it's the Romulan Senate or whatever. We're big Trekkies, by the way. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Huge.
But there's this part in the Romulan Senate, and he wants all the people sitting in the audience of that Senate to look at one specific thing, and so he's tapping this. He's tapping this thing, just look here. I want you to look here. Keep
Children,
looking.
children.
I want you. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's horrifying. And he just keeps tapping it and saying
just,
directions.
every objective in the book, and it's completely contradictory. It's like beautiful, terrifying. It's moving. It's stable.
You want to make love to it. Like, it was so ridiculous.
But it scares you. Yeah, it
But
horrifies you.
Yes,
to look
it
at.
makes you want to rip your skin off. It's so ridiculous, and it was just funny. But the guy's really talented, and so we follow his career strangely. I don't know.
Yes,
it's weird, but
he will. Hopefully, the goal is to have him edit one of our films. That would be
maybe one day down the road we'll have him on as a guest if he's technological. If anybody knows Stuart Bayard, let him know we're big fans of him, and we'd love to have him on as a guest.
Tell him to call in or get a hold of one of us on our various ways of reach, and we'd love to have him on. That'd be so great.
A lot of people kind of put the blame on him for almost killing Star Trek, and
yeah, you can't do that though. It wasn't. You can't really blame. John Logan deserves more blame than Stuart Baird.
Who also wrote Skyfall. He wrote the screenplay.
Isn't that crazy? Like he did Gladiator before that. Great,
epic.
It seems like he just had no clue. And if I remember correctly, he was a huge fan of Star Trek.
Yeah,
like I remember, I remember specifically telling Daniel, showing him, because at that time, the internet wasn't quite what it was now, and I found the script for it, and we were going over some of the things, and some of the things that he wrote in the script are just like
in Star Trek
fanboy.
Yeah, Star Trek Nemesis.
In Nemesis, yes, just fanboying. Oh, it's hilarious. Everybody's laughing. The explosions. Oh, it's so dramatic. But it's just, yeah. I mean, you can't really fault Stuart Baird for what he was given to work with.
Yeah.
But I don't blame John Logan either. I would place the blame solely at probably one or two people's feet for the death of TNG and the way that it
Rick
did.
Berman.
Rick Berman being number one.
Branagh.
And if
what's his name?
Brandon Braga, not so
Braga.
much.
Well, I don't know. Let's not get into Trek talk. We're boring people. But
I'm sure. Yeah, let's get back to what we were.
I think that was when I went and saw Skyfall, which I loved. Skyfall was an excellent movie. I felt there were elements of fanboy moments. I mean, there are fanboy moments in there, but I knew John Logan wrote it going in, and I knew that he was kind of
classically done though.
Yes. No, it was reined back a little bit, and I think he actually didn't go like, "Ooh, it's that," kind of thing, I'm sorry for that voice, but like in
the scene in the car was great.
Yeah, that was probably
really
the most blatant fanboy thing. But the thing was, they had that car in Casino Royale. Although I did have that, kind of like, ooh, that's cool. But they had that same car in Casino Royale.
I didn't realize that.
So it was less of a cool thing, but to me a little bit. A lot of people were like, how does this car exist? Like, why does it make sense that's there? Because they have the ejector seat. It's the car from GoldenEye, or not GoldenEye. I'm sorry. Goldfinger. It's the car from Goldfinger with the ejector seat and everything, and they have that joke. That joke I rolled my eyes at. He's like, I could eject you, or he flips the button. She's like, oh, go ahead, eject me, and it's just like, okay, well that took the joke a little too far, but I laughed because it was just like, ooh, they're in the car. But anyway, so Stuart Bayard is a gigantic inside joke for us. And also,
we love him to death if he's listening somehow.
He's a great director. He has a decompression sequence in each of his movies.
Yes.
And
best one still, I think, is the executive decision one. It still holds up. People might be rolling their eyes. How in the world, if anybody even knows what that movie is, how could you like that movie? That's one of those early 90s, mid-90s kind of popcorn action-y movies. But it's a really good story. But when they're in the sleeve and all that, and Steven Seagal dies, which was the highlight for me because he never dies.
Oh yeah, Steven Seagal, a high profile actor, dies within half hour of the movie. Now you kind of spoiled it, but it's like Drew Barrymore at the beginning of Scream. It's just one of those things you don't expect. He's the commando guy. You don't expect him to die, which kind of
exactly makes the movie.
But so
makes the movie.
Anything else on the topic of our movie background that you want to really hit?
Well, I was thinking before we started, going way back. I don't know so much about in relation to you because there's a bit of an age difference between us. And
Tom is 6 years older than me. He is.
That's true.
20. Are you almost 29?
I am almost 29. I'll be turning 29 in April.
April, yeah. Well, I didn't know that. Your birthday's in April? What?
Who knew? Who knew?
No,
you
I
have
knew
to have it in one of the months, I guess.
Yeah, I know. I knew that.
Yeah, I know. So it was me and my 2 sisters, and then there was
we
a
have
little
3,
bit of a
by
gap.
the way.
3 sisters in total, but it was me, Katie, and Kelly, which were pretty close together as far as births go, and then Daniel was a little bit later, then Haley came a lot later.
We're all well, you guys were 2 years apart, and I was 2.5 from Kelly, and then Haley was 6 from me. So we have I have 4 siblings total, including Tom, who's the oldest. It was Tom, Kate, Kel, me, and then Haley 6 years after me.
Right.
So there's a 6-year difference between Haley and me, and then me and you.
Right. So to that point, when I was like 8, 9, and we would all, watch a bunch of movies and stuff, you were like 2 or 3. So, but
well, not when you were 8 or 9, but yes, continue.
Yeah. Our cache of,
I'm sorry, never mind.
Tapes or whatever we got for Christmas, or whatever movies we were firmly based in like movies like Aladdin and Rookie of the Year. And,
watched so much of that.
The early Disney movies.
I was really into Aladdin.
Oh yeah, Aladdin, Lion King, Toy Story. Back when those kind of movies were good.
All the Disney movies, the streak of great movies.
They still get some good. I mean, there's not. I like WALL-E.
Well, Pixar really kind of picked up the tradition of excellent Disney movies. I have a question really quick. Because Lion King is the first movie I ever remember seeing in theaters. What was the first movie you ever remember seeing in theaters?
Holy mackerel! I remember that. I don't know why specifically.
Well,
I think we had our Aunt Joni was in town, and we were all going out and stuff. And
but the thing was, it was 4th of July weekend, and Kelly was in the hospital with her appendix. She had her appendix removed. That I remember that, and I remember going to when we were in her hospital room. She couldn't leave the hospital or whatever because she was just had surgery and all that stuff. And I remember gloating to her that we went and saw The Lion King. That was so horrible.
It might have been. It was either. Because Generations came out about the same time. Lion King, I remember. Was like 94.
Hold on, wait. Did Generations come out before Lion King?
It was the same year, I think, or I want to say.
Because I remember seeing that too.
I think the first thing that I saw in theaters was The Undiscovered Country.
Okay, so Star Trek.
It was Star Trek. Yeah, I think it was 6, 7 thereabouts. I think because I remember. I still have little glimpses of remembering parts of that. I remember being at the theater and seeing parts of it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it may have been a different movie and we just kind of saw it or whatever it was, but that was my first memory movie of being in a theater and seeing that because it was very, stuck in my head.
Undiscovered Country was good.
Great movie, still good. It's up there with Khan.
That used to be that's my favorite of the original series movies. I know Khan is there for everybody, but I really liked Star Trek 6.
A lot of political intrigue.
So Generations did come out. It came out after. Good. I was about to say I've been living a lie and thinking Lion King was the first movie I remember seeing, but
was Lion King 94 and
they were both 94. Lion King came out.
I was right.
June 24th, and Generations came out 18 November,
or towards Christmas, I guess.
Yeah, towards Christmas. So
I remember both, and I think
we saw a late night showing of that for some reason. I remember it being late. I think
we were late. We were late. We missed the beginning of the film.
Oh, did we?
We got in just as they were in the Nexus, and they were the ship was moving around and bumping. I remember Scotty and all that at the helm, and them trying to get out of the energy ribbon.
Gotta get out of here.
I can still quote that entire movie from beginning to end.
I remember you used to we would because we had a bunk bed growing up that we had throughout our entire lives. Tom still has it. Tom still sleeps on it.
Now would be a good time to turn the camera on.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Because it's pointing towards
the bed. Yeah, Tom's gonna upload a little preview of this on his channel. But we used to have long ass conversations, or I would just ask him to start quoting Star Trek movies. Just he would go through the entire opening scene of Generations or whatever. Tom and I are both very referential people. We quote things all the time to each other, random YouTube videos or even movies. Are you still there?
I am still here. I was fidgeting with the record button. It wouldn't turn on, but now it has turned on finally.
I figured you were. But yeah, we're both really referential. We quote Star Trek all the time. We quote Batman or or pretty much any movie, really. What was
Well, Generations especially. I remember when you were, like you were saying, you'd sit on the bottom bunk, and I'd be up on the top bunk, and it was weird. I always thought it was semi-strange that you would ask me, but I mean, it would run through it, and we'd fall asleep to it, just about.
You'd just be like, I gotta get. Was anybody in here?
Exactly.
You'd fall asleep after the intro.
Just before it would cut to the Next Generation crew, we'd get through the first part of the original.
What's a Stuntzel, sir? No, you usually got to that scene. That's before I fell asleep.
Last yard arm just above the bridge to holodeck 3. Riker here. See, I mean, it's a skill. I've seen it thousands of times, but I mean, it's like you said it's a really good movie, and it just sticks out in my head. And we
Generations is an excellent movie.
A ton of times, and I hit stop.
Like I said, we're big Trekkies, and like
it'll come out. Yeah, that's the thing. We'll be talking about something.
So hopefully some of you guys are into Star Trek, because there will be times where, especially with J.J. Abrams' Star Trek Into Darkness coming out, we'll definitely probably do a special on that movie when it comes out.
That will be our big budget show.
Well, that'll probably be
we'll be on location and
just Star Trek, just talking about Star Trek, just talking about J.J.'s Star Trek. Like, Tom and I. I think me more than you. I've seen. Well, I think you went back and watched a lot of the original series episodes. But I remember that's the first Trek experience I had, was watching that on reruns with Dad. I remember watching that on TV. And then obviously Next Generation started right before I was born, and Voyager. We've watched every episode of Voyager, every episode of Next Generation, every episode of. Well, now every episode of Deep Space Nine.
But that was more recent. That was just before you left for Colorado last year.
Yeah, Tom was into that show a lot more than I was, and I always kind of dismissed it as, they don't go anywhere. It's a boring show. But
like, don't go anywhere.
As you grow up, you gain different sensibilities. So like once they added it on Netflix, Tom and I sat down before I moved to Colorado. And every day we'd watch 1 or 2 episodes. Sometimes we would watch like 6 episodes in a row, because it was
last month, because you went in February of last year. That last month we were on like season 4. We flew through.
It's just such an excellent show, though.
We watched
easy to
sometimes
go through.
4 or 5 episodes a day. It was ridiculous.
I can't wait for this. I can't wait for the comments on this, like on the YouTube video of this. Just be like, God, an hour and a half of nerds talking about Star Trek. Why would anybody want to listen to this?
Like Daniel said at the beginning of the show, though, we'll be a little bit more structurally sound as we go forward. But
I mean, it is going to be us expressing our interests and personalities and everything. So I mean, but yeah, it'll be less scatterbrained and more focused on specific topics, and we'll also be highlighting news, discussing news, movie news, and all that jazz, and also reviews of new movies. We are going to be doing a review of The King's Speech at the end of this, just because we just watched that last night. But usually there will be new movie reviews on these. So
and lots of sports and lots of politics.
Ew, both of those.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
This week on the Gidlow Religious Show. But yeah, so we'll keep it to movies.
Yes, of course, of course.
A horse is a horse. So is that now the end of all of our movie credentials, essentially?
I mean, that's kind of the early. I think we've gone pretty well from the early beginnings to where we are now, as far as our love for movies and all of that. But we do also, have aspirations within filmmaking. Yeah. That we're both very, very passionate about. We're both, on that sort of, patience track where. We don't want to just jump into it and start doing movies, crappily and not making good movies.
I mean, you and I have watched a shit ton of movies, so we've kind of been students of
we
the
have
movies.
A big sort of frame of reference.
I have a question for you, because you were kind of the prodigy of the family. Like you were the one who was supposed to go off and do things. Like you had a couple different focuses. I, growing up, after going to premieres every single day, a majority of the time you taking me to premieres or somebody bumming a ride from somebody, watching movies every single day. I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker. I knew I wanted to do movies. Whenever I made a profile online for any website, I'd be like, I'm an aspiring filmmaker. That didn't come out till. I mean, obviously you might have had aspirations early on, but like that didn't come out till later, did it? Or was it? Were you always like,
No, that's very true, and that goes really well into actually somebody on Twitter, just a new follower that was on my Twitter,
at Thomas Gidlow.
At Thomas Gidlow, if you would like to follow and tweet me and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Asked. Oh my goodness! Wow, where did that come from?
I asked you a question. You were just
don't ask me a question. I don't speak Walmart. That was a graphic somebody put on Facebook.
I see.
Somebody had asked me exactly like how I got into it and all that stuff. It never really was. I always had, like we've talked about, a real hardcore fascination and loved movies, but it never was anything that I really saw myself as doing.
Mm-hmm.
At any point. I had all kinds of different goals and aspirations and all of that, and of course
golf, poker,
as Daniel, golf, poker, hockey at one point,
hockey.
All kinds of different things. I wanted to be a general manager of a sports team or something that along that lines. And as Daniel alluded to, being sort of the quote unquote prodigy of the family.
Well, you were the one that they put the focus into.
Well, because I was the first one.
There were so many kids in our family.
Right.
It was just like, but yeah, you were the first, and you were there, first, and so
right.
Yeah.
I was on that track too, somewhat. Went to college and didn't last very long in college, so I kind of floated around for a few years. And the thing that really got me into it, I mean, I like to write decently enough. I kept like journals and stuff like that, and wrote out stuff about life experiences. But I had a camcorder that I was with you when we bought, that my mom took us out to go buy or something like that, and you actually helped pay for it. And we had this camera and we had a tripod
as well. Yeah.
What's that?
Tripod as well. Yes, I remember that.
Yes, and we bought did we buy Pinnacle or we bought some?
I bought Pinnacle.
You bought it. Okay.
I bought Pinnacle. It was like $100. I think it was Pinnacle Studio Ultimate, like 10 or something like that.
It might have been 9 or 10. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was. It was a step above Movie Maker. That was the whole idea.
Right. That was the very early beginnings, and we never really did anything with it. But I had the camera with me. I lived in Raleigh. Dan was down at the beach here in Carolina Shores.
Why did we get the camera? What was the idea behind getting the camera?
Well, we had a camera, a tripod, and editing program. We wanted to shoot stuff. We didn't know
what we
wanted to do.
Did we get that specifically for Victor James or no?
No. This was before that.
All right. Well, continue on your
2007.
I used Pinnacle for I bought Pinnacle and I had it for months, and then I eventually ended up making my first machinima, or re-editing my first machinima that I had made, and that's kind of what jet me off on my path. But continue on yours.
Yes. So that was around 2007 or so, and then 2008. Later on in 2008, I had this camera. I would rarely, if ever, use it. I think when I lived with my sister, we actually did sort of just a loose kind of thing where she would act and I'd tell her to act and stuff and blah blah blah, but we never did anything with it. So I was on YouTube. I just perusing around YouTube like I often did then, still do somewhat now, and there was this thing on YouTube called Project Direct. It was Darren Aronofsky and a bunch of folks. They had done this a couple of years prior, and they were going to do this contest where if you made a 5-minute short film, you had to use a couple of different props that they gave you choices from.
Yeah. And
I said, hey, I got a camera. I work, at this place where I have access to people. I'm going to jot some notes down, and off I go. And so did that there, and then from doing that, kind of decided that I wanted to try it more seriously. Came here where Daniel was, and then we kind of took it and we added a little bit to it where I filmed him outside. And some of you, if you haven't seen it, go to my YouTube channel and you can see.
Is it still up?
No. Well, the actual short Victor James Problem Solver, which is what we called it.
Yeah.
I played Victor James, so god awful.
I want to say right now,
yes.
I did not like the Problem Solver. I tried to get you to drop it. I think a lot of the things that you thought like was good that I argued against
ever. Yes.
I still think a lot of the stuff that I argue about with your stuff, in retrospect now for you, I'm sure was probably right. Just throwing that out.
What
there.
do you want? You want me to say yes, you were right?
I want 20% on any project or profits you make with any of your movies ever.
Ever?
Yep.
That's that you just kind of took what you said before, and now you've just like completely turned it around and like have all this faith in me to make a.
Well, you also have to listen to my opinion, so.
Oh, that's why you said it. Okay.
Continue.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
Anyway.
yeah, no. What was on the channel that you wanted to be able to?
Well, no.
Was it
there's
in bloopers with me or something like that?
Yeah, there's Daniel singing Hobo Dreams. It's youtube.com/Skyward Cinema. It's on there someplace. But yeah, Daniel singing Hobo Dreams, sitting in front of the garage.
Just improvising.
Improvising on a guitar. Where he wasn't playing anything sensible. It was just strumming along.
I had my electric guitar that I never played ever.
Exactly.
I think I
So
sat
it's
down
probably-
like twice with Dad to try to learn, and I just never picked it up.
Horribly out of tune, and it was just... Yeah,
Also,
it
I
was
look like
picked up
Jabba the Danz. I think somebody made that comment at some point.
wearing a weird scarf and coats. And
I made that scarf, damn it.
Well, no, I'm just not saying weird. But,
I know.
It
was
looked like a
multicolored.
Jamaican scarf.
It was multicolored. But yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. Well, I think I know where the film is, but I hesitate to say it because it's on MySpace, for crying out loud. But it's on myspace.com/Skyward Cinema. It's still up.
Is it?
I don't know how it survived all this time, but it's still there. If you want to watch, just watch it and laugh. It's funny.
Victor James, man.
It's
Starring
it is
Thomas
hilarious.
Gidlow.
Yeah, starring me, and that'll be the last time I ever star in any actual film.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did that. Daniel edited, the best that he could do,
With what I
the
had.
claptrap that I had created, and we sent it to the contest. We got a couple hundred views on my channel that at the time I had no views or any subscribers or really anything.
Yeah.
We got some constructive feedback and kind of took that and decided to do it a little bit more professionally, and that's where Victor James came to be. The actual Victor James with actual actors.
Longer, short, actually, had a production behind it somewhat. I mean, it was still made with that same camera. No, it was made with Robert's
No.
camera.
This was Robert's camera, but it was basically the same thing. But
Yeah.
we had a structure. We did a lot of research prior to it and tried to form a structure that we could at least operate under. And it worked. It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of great experience.
Yeah.
But
Still
then-
not anything Oscar-worthy.
Oh,
but,
no, good Lord.
But
no.
at the same time, nobody's going to start off like,
Right.
Oscar-worthy. Except for
the
Kevin
actors,
Smith,
the
apparently.
actors did a great job considering the fact it was my first time really actually directing. Retrospect, you could get more out of them by being an experienced actor, knowing exactly what it is that you want to do.
Do you think...
but they did a great job.
Do you think you direct and edit and everything as a means to just... I mean, like... Would you turn over that creative control to somebody else, or like, because I know I edit, like I film stuff. I started off filming stuff and doing machinima and stuff as a means to just edit something. Do you do that as a means to just like do you direct and edit as a means to have your written stuff actually made, or like
You mean do I prefer doing all of them?
Yeah, like
Or would
do
I
you
mind giving
direct
them up?
just to get your story told, or do you think if you had somebody who could direct, you would turn that over just like you could continue writing? And do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
that's a 180 probably from even a year ago.
Yeah.
Or a year and a half ago. I had this thing in my head, and believe me, if you have something in your head like that,
Yeah.
the thing that will turn you right around is you do it all and then you put it out there and then crickets.
Yeah.
That's the best way. That's the best way to kind of say, okay, maybe you need a little bit of help. But yeah, no, I would absolutely, especially editing, because I'm good and I'm decent, with what we do. But we've talked about real, generally and briefly about doing something at some point. If we were to do something, big, whatever kind of movie we were doing, I would definitely either have you or, somebody really good at editing.
Yeah.
But as far as directing, I think I could probably give away the writing. I could probably give away the editing, the promotion, blah, blah, blah. Directing is probably where I'd want to be.
So it's all as a means to just direct.
Right, or write or direct. It's kind of
Yeah.
close between the two. I love to write, but that's the thing. When you're on set and you've got everybody there, even if it's a small group, 15 people or whatever, if you got all of that group, and it's just when I get there, I'm just like, I'm nervous generally as a way that I am kind of shy sometimes. But when I get there, man, it's just it's a whole different thing. I'm just like,
Well, you're a
enjoying it,
coordinator.
really
You're a good
experiencing it.
coordinator. I think.
Yeah.
You're good at coordinating everything. Obviously, directing is coordinating a vision. It's like getting everybody to do what you want, so you can.
Right. Well, you try to take it from what you wrote because you wrote it. Or if it had been from somebody else, what they wrote, and you bring that into your head, and then you take it from your head and you try to convey it to the actors, and it's a great. I wouldn't want to do anything else other than write and direct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Can't wait to do
admirable.
it. And that's what?
I said, and that's admirable.
Sure.
But so like you did Victor James, and then you years later finally got your first, like, I think far, like, your first. I consider it your first real short. Like, I mean, because quality wise, I mean, I'm just
because
saying
it looks
quality
good.
wise.
Yeah, it looks
I
a
mean,
lot better.
Victor James is good to a certain extent, but I mean, this is the first professionally, like, looks professional. It looks like a movie essentially.
Right. Well, Uncivil is, I think, objectively speaking, not the greatest story. It's kind of a little bit here and there.
It has good concepts behind it.
It has good concepts, and the actors, again, are really good. But again, the thing with that film is that it's definitely the production value increased exponentially.
Yeah.
And, being familiar working with those people like Mike Penny and Shane would help me with the sound and stuff, and having that access to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's why now you kind of go back and you really try to develop to make the story right, and make sure you have the right people in, and that you can focus and have the right people behind you on the crew, that you can just focus in on making, doing the best you can to get the actors performance out of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a big step up, and hopefully continuing to go up. That's
Yes. Hey, okay. Would you consider me your harshest critic?
Absolutely.
Because
without question.
I think I'm pretty hard on Tom. But the thing is, I'm pretty honest in general.
You have to have somebody like that, because in anything you do, you're going to have your friends and family who are just going to be like, we're just going to be like, that's okay, try, keep going, and, love what you're doing, or, it's not really my cup of tea.
And I'm just like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work.
Right. And you need to have somebody there that just slaps you across the face and say, look, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Or, whatever it is that it's meant out of love and out of,
I'm your biggest critic and also one of your biggest supporters, I think.
Right. Oh, exactly. So, it's very important to have that no matter what you're doing, but particularly for this, because you have to have somebody else's eyes. You can't objectively take your own eyes out of your own head for what you know, and, watch your stuff.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, sometimes you do want to just create content. Like, because my kind of motto is, do what you would want to make, what you would want to watch, and if you at the end are proud of what you did and you think it all works and everything, then nobody can really take you down because you made what you wanted to make.
Exactly. And if you do it over and over again, you're going to eventually. That's the thing that I try to subscribe to, is that you're not, if you are determined enough to be successful, if you keep doing it. I mean, Daniel's the perfect example. If you love what you do and you keep doing it, eventually you're going to succeed. And Daniel's, proof positive of that, I would think. And we're turning this into a mush factory, but
I love you, Tom. No, I love you, Dan. Oh man,
it's terrible.
But yeah. So yeah, you have a couple short films under your belt. You plan on doing more, which we'll be highlighting. If I do something or Tom does something, we'll be highlighting it on the podcast and letting you guys know where you could watch it. But Tom got a jump start on me, although it was always my aspiration to be a filmmaker. You got to do it before I did.
That is true. That is
just I never had the sense, like, I'm not built to contact actors and coordinate it all. I just don't have that ability.
That's another thing I love doing, especially with the people that I've been able to get in contact with and continue contact with. They're great people. I've been very lucky in the sense that I haven't been in contact or done that thing with where you find that cocky actors like, man, we're gonna do this, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. So, but they're out there. But again, you have that experience now that I've what you want. You're very extensive with what you want, and you can find the people you want. I love doing that stuff.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
I've always been a kind of work with what you got kind of guy, and so I never was able to do anything. I got a camera right before I ended up moving to Colorado, And before I moved, like I had that camera for like I think 2-3 months before I moved, and then it was like, what am I doing with this camera? I can't do anything but film Tom on the back deck when he goes out for a smoke break. Like
exactly. Well, now it's like when I go outside to have a cigarette or something like that, I almost want to take my camera with it, but sad face tears. There's no one to hold it.
Oh yeah. Well, there's always such a beautiful sunrise, like
in the backyard, of course. Yeah.
There's always some pretty cool cinematic stuff you could do back there.
But that's the thing. Of course, there's a lot more to do still that I could do out there. But it's like once you shoot it a couple of different times, it's like okay.
Oh yeah, you can't do anything else. But that's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
But so like I mean, moving out to the Creature House, I've been able to creatively kind of focus more on stuff. I think of the shorts. There aren't really too many I can really call my own because it's all like a really collaborative effort. But I think my first what I would say is my big short film, kind of close to your Uncivil, like that's your first. Well, I mean, Victor James was your first big.
Either one, yeah. I mean, Uncivil for sure. But yeah,
but no, Victor James was a big stepping point for you, putting something together and all that stuff. Bunny Bus 2 was like this kind of beast that I really kind of. I realized like how much I love being involved in all of the aspects of like I love the creative process like almost more than actually showing an audience and seeing their reaction. Like I love putting something together. I love the process of writing. Although I was the only writer on that, the collaborative process of actually making it is fascinating to me. I love directing. I love taking the element of what's written on the page and actually filming it. Like I love all the aspects of it. I love cinematography. I like editing it together. Like it was like crack to me. Like I can understand why like after you did maybe the first Victor James, the original Victor James, like why you kept keeping at it, like
right.
But I was never able to do that because I can't really coordinate getting actors and stuff, so we kind of had to
well, that's the beauty of us, where we're at now, is that you're continuing to do what you do and I'm continuing to do what I do, and it's like we're on, it's like we're both on a road that eventually will lead back together at some point.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be pretty amazing because I mean the things that you guys are doing. I mean, I don't even get to watch all the stuff that they do, but. It's just hilarious. You guys are like
weird,
even mundane things like playing pool or sitting around and doing nothing or whatever it is, and you just go outside. You guys can create stuff. It's it's hilarious.
Certainly,
absolutely.
Well, I think that's pretty much everything on that path about the whole. So we did the movies.
We did.
We did our background. We did our filmmaking background
with some shameless plugs. Yes,
with plenty of shameless plugs. Well, the biggest thing about this specific podcast, again, like we said before, it's going to be far more structured. It's going to be far less personal. I mean, it's going to be our opinions and everything. But like, I just wanted to let you guys kind of get to know us. Get used to our back and forth. Get used to us, kind of talking back and forth.
Well, it doesn't even feel like we're doing anything. It just feels like a normal
that's
conversation.
The biggest thing.
We're just normally sitting here talking like this.
It's pretty. I'm liking how natural this is. It's like you're my brother.
Who knew? I didn't know I had another brother, but apparently I
do. So all we have really pretty much left is to move on to the movie review. But there are a couple things I wanted to throw out there. An element of the show I want to do is I want to keep it very, kind of like a community sort of thing. It is me and Tom, or Tom and I. Sorry, my grammar is all over the place. It is Tom and I talking to each other, but I want to include you guys in here very much. Some of my favorite podcasts include emails and stuff like that, and I want to keep this a conversation between all of us, sort of thing. So we set up an email for the show. It's gidlowshow@gmail.com, GIDLOW show@gmail.com, no spaces. Also, we have a Twitter set up that will be, if you want to follow, it'll be specifically tweeting out when a show is going. I'll also be tweeting it out too, and I'm sure Tom will as well. So it's at Gidlow Show. It's twitter.com/Gidlow Show. So, email us with your emails if you kind of want to give us your background on movies. Just like I'll go through, pick out interesting emails, read them each show. Don't worry if your email doesn't get picked. Just keep keep it up every once in a while. Like once we start doing movie reviews, we'd love to get your guys' thoughts on specific movies. So either email them in, or I'll be going through comments and looking at comments and highlighting comments. But
right, and even if they do take the time to send the emails, even if you don't get them,
we're gonna read
get
them
to every single one of them. We'll also but even if we don't get to every single one of them on the air and stuff like that, I'll probably try to
reply,
get to most of them. As much. It depends on how many we get, but I would love to take the time to just sit there and conversate about these kind of things because they're great. This is what we do.
Yes. I like including you guys. So, yep. So, email is gidlowshow@gmail.com and @gidlowshow. So, be sure to follow that. And, yes.
Do it.
Okay, so.
Yes.
Our first review on here, it has to be good. Last night we were going to watch we were trying to figure out what to watch. It came down to Star Trek Nemesis. Which is just completely telling of what we're interested in. Or King's Speech. And as much as I wanted to watch Nemesis, I did want to share with Tom King's Speech. Give you a bit of information. The King's Speech is about King George VI. And essentially him trying... It starts off he's not king, but... he has a speech impediment. He is horribly stricken with a speech impediment. He's had it since he was a kid. And the movie really focuses on the fact that, one day he may be called upon to... His family, does radio broadcasts to kind of ease tensions and kind of make the people think, the royalty, they're just like us, they're there for us, they care. They're on the radio saying... have a good Christmas and stuff like that. His father
That's basically,
stuff like that.
Figureheads.
With the impending, World War II that's inevitably going to happen, he's taking diction classes in order to get rid of his stammer, because one day he may need to, be called upon to do a radio broadcast that could change, the what's the word I'm looking for here? The morale of the country.
That was the first thing that came to my mind.
The morale of the country, keep the morale up, because things are getting terrifying with the impending, Hitler trying to take over the world sort of thing. So sometimes all people need to hear is a kind word from somebody they look up to, that needs to be strong. And when you have that stammer, you can't really, people aren't going to be confident in you. So, it's an excellent movie, I think. It's directed by Tom Hooper, who has Les Miserables in theaters right now. It stars Colin Firth, Helena Bonham Carter in her least Helena Bonham Carter-ish role ever.
I remember making the point during the movie. I said, "Where's Johnny Depp?" And I don't see Tim Burton didn't direct this, so I don't know what she's doing in this movie.
Well, she does do other roles,
right, yeah.
But it's rare that she plays a not very weird character. I think she was really excellent in the role, because she was
natural as a regular, just a supporting wife. She was excellent. She was very good.
Yeah. So Colin Firth and Jeffrey Rush and Guy Pearce for a little bit. So I thought the movie was really great. It hit on a lot of. I don't think there. Like I was saying last night, I don't think there was much wrong with it. It really was just. It played out very naturally, and I was saying it was almost like a movie you'd watch in school, just like. It was one of those kind of biographical, historical movies.
We were talking about the whole rated R thing and all of that. If it wasn't for the language, there's no way this would be a rated R film. And initial reactions for me was that it was a very good movie. I mean, the cinematography was excellent. The way that they, cut back and forth the different styles of shots and that kind of thing. It was very well done. And I really like the films that don't have to rely on CGI. It may not be, there's not a real huge need for it. There were obvious parts where that was employed, but
I think there was only one shot that had a green screen. Was there? Well, maybe the parts with the blimps in the air and stuff like that.
But anything that was basically outdoors, because they could build, somewhat and computer generate additional stuff to it, but they could build the world. But anything, maybe, because it's, impending war and all that kind of stuff, you have to add little stuff here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, brilliantly written and performed the what was it, Tom? I'm sorry, who's the main actor guy?
Colin Firth.
Colin Firth.
He won an Oscar for it,
and
actor.
I can see why. I mean, not only did he nail the performance and nail the character. I have no real historical reference for the character because I have not heard King George VI speak that I know of, but. To not only be able to nail the role and nail the mannerisms and that kind of thing, but to be able to do it and continually make me believe that I'm watching somebody with a stutter. Just a brilliant performance.
Yeah.
And I there's nothing, again, like you had said, there's nothing negative that I would say about the movie. But I can kind of see where it may not have a mass sort of popular appeal to it because it is... sort of, it's not a war film, and it's not like the events leading up to the war. It kind of keeps that in the background. The story is about the speech. The story is about the preparation for the speech, the interaction between him and his doctor, and that made the film for me. Yeah. But I wouldn't say that it very, very good movie. Probably the only downside I would say to it is that it really probably won't appeal to the masses.
Yeah, it's a very much of a character piece sort of thing. It's a movie that just focuses on a few characters with this mass historical setting behind it. But yeah, like you said, I had no idea who King George VI was.
I didn't even realize that the name continued on that recently. That I thought that all kind of went away a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's Queen Elizabeth, his daughter.
Well, right. George the Sixth, though. I mean,
George the Sixth, yeah.
The continuation of that many Georges, I thought, was long gone, but
yeah. Well, I guess his father was King George V.
Jeffrey Rush. Jeffrey Rush was amazing too.
Jeffrey Rush was amazing.
Yes, the only other film I can remember ever seeing him in, Pirates of the Caribbean. So I've never really been able to see him as a person. He's played this ridiculous character, Captain Barbossa, which I love, but yeah, he was just absolutely natural. It was just like watching, it was like peering your eyes into their world. It didn't even feel like you were watching a movie.
Pretty much. Mm-hmm. So yes, I don't know if we want to do ratings on. I mean, you and I between each other do ratings. So I guess we
should. I think we should because we ultimately always give a film a rating somewhere along the line. It may be weeks later. Yeah. But usually that night after we watch something, one of us says rating. Then we go into our diatribe. So
yeah. Well, the thing. Okay, so when I was doing Danz News reviews, I did it out of 4, and people hated that. And then they were telling me to do it out of 10. You and I usually do it out of 5.
Right.
But we also allow halves in there, so it's essentially is out of 10.
I wouldn't necessarily mind 10 because it gives you a bit of a broader, obviously it gives you a broader amount of, leeway. Okay. But the thing is, I think there are, really, like, The Dark Knight Rises, because if you do 5, I wouldn't give any movie a 5 unless it was the best movie ever made.
Yeah.
And I even gave The Dark Knight Rises as close to it as I could. I wouldn't mind going out to 10.
Okay, do you want to do 10?
Sure. We'll start that for this show. Okay,
so what would you give The King's Speech out of 10?
I would give The King's Speech a solid 8.5.
8.5.
8.5, right. And that's my first rating on the show, so we'll see how it references and stands up. But I would say a solid 8.5.
Solid 8.5. Well, yeah, yesterday out of 5 you gave it a 4, so I think that gives it a little bit more, doesn't it?
Just a little bit more, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, since we have a larger scale now, we can go with the points.
We can play around with the numbers a little bit.
In that case, then I guess I would give it a 9. 9 out of 10, because I gave it a 4.5 yesterday, which I did think was kind of high, but I think it was above a 4 and almost at a 4.5. So I would definitely say 9 out of 10.
Again, like you said, there's no flaws in the movie. It's a really well told story, and it's just the story itself. Again, probably not something everybody would want to go rush to the theater and see.
My biggest thing is I don't think they really linger on anything that's unnecessary. I was saying this last night. They don't really linger on anything that's unnecessary. It moves at a very brisk pace. It does not feel like 2 hours.
No, I actually made note of that because I was thinking, this, beforehand preconception in my head, it probably will lag. It'll feel like 2 hours.
Yeah,
went right by.
It's a very kind of small film, but at the same time, it does have a very interesting visual style that almost it doesn't make it feel like a small film. But it really only takes place Well, no, there are really great moments, like you were saying, like where they actually probably had to go to the actual buildings.
Right, towards the end. Most of everything else, though, was a couple of sets, and that was really it. They did some outdoor stuff, then a couple of sets. But being able to have the access to those rooms that they used might have been Buckingham Palace. I'm not sure.
Maybe,
but
I don't know.
That really nails it.
I don't know. We didn't do any research.
We didn't. We were going to do prep yesterday. All day we were going to do prep yesterday. It didn't quite work out. I think we talked about this.
Looking over. Well, usually, we would probably do a lot more prep for a show because we have news stories and stuff like that. But yeah, it had a sense of, although it obviously was a very small movie, it had a larger scale to it. Excellent direction. Excellent visuals, excellent performances, which makes it a great movie. Apparently, it took home from the Oscars Best Director, Best Motion Picture, Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role, and Best Writing Original Screenplay.
Wow, it really cleaned up. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was the big 2011, I guess, winner or so.
I did not realize that at all. Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's what really put it on the map for me. I had seen the trailer and I wanted to see it. But yeah, something you brought up earlier was there was a whole controversy around the fact that it got rated R because of the few instances of the F word in the film.
Right.
And for the American release, they did cut it down they took out the Fs to get a PG-13 so it would get a wider release. But there were some select theaters that did play, the rated R version. But that
really is unfortunate.
It is, because it's not a derogatory thing or a sexual thing. It's just the fact that they say fuck so many times.
It's not gratuitously used. It's in basically one sentence or one scene.
No, they use it. They use it in two different scenes because at the end he's swearing in order to attempt to get through the.
But it's a lot less noticeable. It's very pronounced in the first time.
It's a scene where he just
fuck.
He says every swear in the book that he can think of.
But it's just that's just unfortunate that you think we've come so far, but we still have to have, the rating systems is a very rigid thing, and there's no real play with it. Like, there's some play with it, but if you go over 3 F-bombs, forget it. If you're not going to cut them, you're going to get rated R. That's just the way it is.
Yeah,
you could have no violence and no anything else at all. But it's the way it is. It's stupid.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say it's certainly a movie that should be seen by younger audiences, people who would be interested, kids who would be interested.
Oh yeah, for historical context too. I mean, it's very accurate, I would imagine.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating story. But yeah, well, I wouldn't imagine too many 10-year-olds who would find it fascinating. But but at the same time, I think parents taking their kids to go see this in theaters when it came out, I don't think that would have been a problem at all, just because it was rated R. But yeah, so yep, that's pretty much it. This is clocking in around almost half an hour where I thought it would be.
Right at about an hour and a half. At about a minute or hour 23 or thereabouts. So.
Yep.
I was thinking good solid length for the first one.
Yeah, I think usually it'll be probably between an hour and a half and 2 hours. I think. I mean, we're not really going to clock it. It's going to be inconsistent, but generally it'll be up on YouTube and then it'll be on iTunes after, and I'll include the link in the description and all that stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much I think everything we wanted to hit.
I think so. I greatly enjoyed it. I was, again, just like that, flew by pretty much. I would imagine the more we do, it's going to continue to be like that. So,
yeah,
very, very eager to continue to do the show, obviously with you. But obviously, hopefully we've got, a lot of listener feedback. And like Daniel said, feel free to, have, even for this initial show, we want to hear from you. Anything that we talked about, feel free to let us know. Once again, it's the Gidlow Show, gidlowshow@gmail.com. gidlowshow@gmail.com, and then follow us on Twitter at Gidlow Show.
Whoa! All right. Well, thank you guys very much for listening to us talk about Star Trek and our interests and Stuart Bayard and the King's Speech.
Next week, we're renaming the show to the Star Trek Podcast.
Or the Stuart Bayard Show.
There you go. Maybe that'll get his attention and he'll come in.
Oh, I wish.
That would be awesome.
I wish. Well, thank you guys very much for watching. From Tom and I,
thank you.
Bye.